Hi, I'm Casey Folds, Enterprise Project Manager for the Office of Information Technology, or OIT. I'm going to spend a few minutes talking with you about remote project management. And I'm going to focus mainly on two areas. That's communication and meetings. In my humble opinion, communications is the most important part of project management. One, it always ends up on the lessons learned at the end of a project. And two, you've heard the term work smarter, not harder. Well, poor communication will have you working harder because no one will be on the same page. My best example of this is silly, but very real. I normally record status update meetings, but I don't always record the technical in the weeds meetings. But any meeting where there's a wide variety of agenda items, I normally found it's best to record them or take great notes. Well, I missed a recording once. And then when a decision was challenged, I couldn't prove it. So here I was emailing everybody, trying to track down their opinions and their votes and everything like that. So I was definitely working harder and not smarter. In project management, communications are often broken down into channels. So know your channels. A simple project team of 3 may seem easy to calculate, but you have to count their channels as well. They'll be passing information along to others. So keep in mind that by the time the information gets down the chain, it very well can be out of context. One easy way to address this is to make sure that your message is consistent across all platforms. If you have a website, make sure the website's up to date with the latest information. If you use a collaboration tool like Teams, make sure that information is up to date as well. If you find out there's miscommunication happening, find that channel and fix it before it has a chance to really fester into the project. That's why I like to have a single point of reference for people to go to so that the information is always the same and consistent. Along the same lines of knowing your channels is knowing your channel preferences. I found that it's okay to use different terminology as long as the message stays the same. A very real example of this was our data center move project. Leadership wanted to see a very high level milestone plan for the project, while the technicians wanted very detailed in the weeds, step by step, all fleshed out exactly what was going to happen when, as well as their role. So in the middle of this pandemic, we completely planned this project remotely, but knew it was going to require folks being on site and working together 6 feet apart. So details really matter for those guys, gals. Another important area of communication is gauging the cadences of communications. Some of that depends on meetings, and I'll cover that later, but I know I'm not telling you anything new when I say know your team and what they're capable of. If you require too much from someone, you can get bad data. To avoid this, make sure to judge each project team member and assign them the communication roles that best suits their talents. The data center move was another great example. While executing the plan, certain roles were responsible for relaying information up and down the communication paths that we had established. Everyone knew exactly who they were to communicate with and when. If we didn't have that in place, information would have been flying left and right, up and down, and we wouldn't really know the actual status of something. We had regular milestone cadences for those communications. Everyone worked and executed the tasks assigned to them, and upon completion, they informed the 1 or 2 people that they were assigned to tell. Then at their regular intervals, those with the received reports communicated theirs up to their person that they were supposed to tell. And by the time it got to the top person, they were getting the summary and they weren't getting a whole bunch of different information from a different people in bits and parts and pieces. So it was a great communication plan. The last thing I want to mention about communications and tools for doing it successfully remotely is a little thing called soft skills. You need your team, they need you. So be careful about shoving things down their throat, and they'll be careful about shoving things down yours, or worse, you get ignored when you need the information because you can't run out to the cubicle and to their office to get that information because this is all done remotely. So work on those soft skills and know your team and how to approach them. If they prefer phone calls, call them. If they prefer emails, email them. There may come a time when you have to actually play your PM card, but choose that wisely when managing remotely because, like I said, you cannot run over to their office or their cubicle to get that information. Now let's talk about meetings. So you're hopefully all adults, or at least intelligent enough to understand that it's rude to hijack a meeting, show up late, come unprepared, so please use proper meeting etiquette. And I can't stress enough the importance of setting an agenda. Let me share with you what I learned, and hopefully it'll make sense. So a 30-minute meeting really means 20 minutes. You lose 10 minutes. You lose the 5 at the front of the meeting for how was your weekend, or people that are late, and you lose the 5 at the end because you have to wrap up and people start bailing, getting ready to go to their next meeting. It's no different remote than it was on site when people got another meeting to get to. So make sure you know it's a 30-minute meeting, it's a 20-minute meeting actually. In this post-pandemic environment, meetings have actually increased, not decreased. So I use what's called a 22-minute meeting. If you have a proper agenda with all the things that are needed to run a meeting, you can get a lot accomplished in 20 minutes with 2 minutes to wrap up, to remind everyone of their action items and next steps. Let me try to explain a little bit. So here are the parts of the agenda that I found successful. The formation, the assignments, and the time limits. Formation, how is your agenda laid out and how detailed does it need to be? And why is this important? Because it's all about me factor. When you send the correct information needed in an agenda and structure it where it shows the summary before the meeting even begins, you can make that 22-minute meeting. I want people thinking about the topics before they come to the meeting. I don't want to waste time brainstorming unless it's a true brainstorming meeting. People are passionate and they want to be heard. So let them process before the meeting so that when they get to the meeting, they're actually giving you the summary and not thinking of it all at once, right then, right there, without it having processed and flowed. So agenda is very important part of that, how you form it. Then there's assignments. So with each topic, assign them to somebody. This is your meeting, but when you let others contribute and keep it, and especially in the spirit of rotation, they're more engaged and it brings together that sense of team, and people tend to be more productive, I found, especially remotely. Setting time limits is also a key part of a meeting. It allows people to know things like the importance of a topic or the areas expected to need the greatest participation. When you set the time limits for each topic, if you need to discuss, like, say, the color of a button, and you can't get that decided in 5 minutes, chances are you're not going to get it decided in 22 minutes. So, and now your meeting's gone. This actually happened to me before, and my project was behind one day because we lost a day doing that. So this also brings up a point about rules of engagement. It's easier to guide someone to wrap up, or for lack of better words, cut them off during a remote meeting than it is when you're in the same room. I don't know why, but sometimes I guess we hide behind keyboards. That being said, it's easier for folks to play solitaire during an online meeting than it is face-to-face, so keep that in mind as well. Also, know when you need to let things ride. If you can tell that it is a good, healthy discussion that needs a few extra minutes, let it continue and cut that time out during your wrap-up. Know when to let those people talk and get that out, especially if you can see that light at the end of the tunnel. I appreciate you listening to my spiel on my experiences with project management. Good communication and efficient meetings will make all the difference in managing them remotely. We have other videos in this series to assist you with hybrid meetings. I hope you'll watch those as well. Thank you very much.